Expect that we will have, whether essentially or in person, a gathering with the White House after it has all the earmarks of being down over for the scandalous Cabo. 6 after new reports have demonstrated that Shanquella's legal counselor is collaborating with the White House, put the issue right at the strides of the White House during a question and answer session held at Livingstone School on Thursday. The Robinson family lawyer Benjamin Crump uncovered that he expects a gathering soon with White House authorities and the top of the U.S. Senate Unfamiliar Relations Council. Did we expect that we will have whether practically or in person, a gathering with the White House after the 1st of April, basically hear something from them concerning our? Moreover, the family is approaching the Biden organization to remove the denounced to Mexico, and doing time in Mexico, everyone facilitated around there and doing their time there. That will be equity for us at this point. What's more, plea likewise uncovered that the American Bar Affiliation and a few public sororities and clubs will give letters calling for equity for Shanquella Robinson, paving the way to the 200th day after her end. Notwithstanding this, Robinson's family and lawyers likewise said it shouldn't require anywhere near 5 months for equity to be conveyed and a capture to be made in her end. Recently, Shanquella's lawyers, activists, and Robinson's family accumulated in Washington, D.C. to request strategic mediation for her situation. Lawyers Crump and so on Robinson approached authorities to either remove the individual named on a capture warrant gave by Mexican authorities or to assume control over purview and arraign that individual in the U.S. The Division of State recently told The Spectator it wouldn't remark on removal matters. The branch of state upholds a careful examination concerning the conditions of this episode and is intently checking neighborhood specialists' examination. We allude you to the Mexican experts for additional inquiries. In regards to an examination, the branch of state said the demise of Shanquella Robinson, while an extended getaway in Mexico, is as yet drawing public regard for date, with many individuals requesting that the woman's family be conceded equity for setting Robinson, a 25-year-old Charlotte lady who functioned as a hair braider and administrator of the Flawless Shop, had ventured out with 6 companions to Mexico on October 28, 2022. They looked into the Puerto Los Cuevos resort lofts in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, where they were to spend their excursion daily. Later, she was found by paramedics in their condo in an inert condition. After a few endeavors to revive her, she was proclaimed dead at 5:57 p.m. Robinson's body was localized to the U.S. On November 12th. The burial service was hung on November 19th at the Macedonia Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her interment pulled in many lines, including many relatives, companions, and the local area. I go get the record that her sister Plume Milan had set up for the memorial service costs. Likewise pulled in a ton of premium, raising more than $400,000. In the meantime, Knife Willis family lawyers have been staying at work longer than required to break this case. As a matter of fact, they even had a letter shipped off President Joe Biden requiring a capture. In the letter, addressed to President Biden, Robinson's lawyers asked White House authorities to see those as liable for what befell the 25-year-old. My clients perceived that the U.S. government has numerous needs and obligations. However, except that interceding for this situation wouldn't just serve the interests of equity, yet in addition, send an unmistakable message that transnational crimes won't go on without serious consequences. The letter expressed in the letter, the lawyers requested help from the U.S. government in 2 explicit ways. The U.S. can follow the removal convention and turn over the individual or people liable for Shanquella's obligation to Mexican specialists. Then again, U.S. bureaucratic policing can demand simultaneous purview with Mexican policing, which would allow U.S. examiners to get the case. The U.S. as the elaborate gatherings are U.S. residents. The lighter reads the letter then, at that point, continued to specify that a warrant had been given to Jen Jackson, who was one of the 6 individuals that Shanquella had gone with. Because of the examination, a warrant was given for Jenny Jackson by Mexican policing of the 6 travel mates who escaped to the U.S. after Shanquella was articulated dead ends Jackson, was distinguished as the culprit of femicide against Shankweiler Robinson. A manslaughter in view of orientation. The report read what's more a definite direct record has been submitted to Mexican specialists from the manor attendant who went about as an interpreter for the gathering during their excursion. The attendant told an agent with the particular unit for the examination of various violations that Jackson was the principal visitor dealing with the excursion plans. The attendant said the primary night the gathering showed up, he saw something was off. He said Robinson was the last individual to join the gathering for supper, and that she appeared to be not to find a place with the others. The attendant said he welcomed her, yet she didn't grin or express anything to him. She was uninterested, nothing to do with the air of festivity. She was awkward at the party, he told the agent, the following day, which was Auntie 29 around 1:50 p.m. The attendant told agents DJ Jackson messaged him and inquired as to whether he was accessible, and where the closest clinical benefit was I think my companion, and has liquor harming and needs crisis administration. And somebody to decipher or communicate in Spanish for us Jackson. Let him know the attendant proposed to send a specialist who communicated in English, and who could decide whether Robinson expected to go to the medical clinic. Jackson consented to this and asked that the specialist be sent quickly. Later, the attendant told agents Jackson had messaged him that Robinson would be taken to an emergency clinic, saying Robinson was not in difficult condition, but rather required an IV, and was basically oblivious. As per the attendant, the gathering was talking about whether they had protection that could pay for the medical clinic visit around 2 p.m. The attendant called the specialist available for any emergencies for the manor. Later, a manager of the manor reached the attendant to inquire as to whether he mentioned a rescue vehicle, since security was advised to give one access. The specialist had a go at giving Robinson an IV. And about an hour after the specialist showed up, Robinson started having seizures. After this, he got another call saying Robinson had kicked the bucket, and he expected to get to the manor straight away. When the attendant showed up, he saw one of the visitors was talking with police. And subsequent to going into the house, he said the visitors were sitting serenely around the bar and supper table. In the fundamental room, he searched out Jackson to give his sympathies, and she let him know that they had illuminated Robinson's mom about the occurrence, and that it was so quick to lose her in a moment for having had a lot of liquor. As per the attendant, Jackson continued to inquire as to whether he could give her an embrace. She gave me an exceptionally unconcerned embrace, freezing. I looked for an extremely miserable visitor, a thin young lady, and I saw that she was in torment. The attendant told the agent I left that region and remained external the primary access to give them space to grieve in sadness. Minutes after the fact, I heard giggling. The attendant proceeded to review hours after the fact. Jackson messaged the attendant about supper, and he organized a ride for the gathering to San Jose, yet he figured out later the gathering went to the air terminal. The following day, a housekeeper let the attendant know that the manor was unfilled and inquired as to whether the visitors looked at astounded. The attendant said they had no message. Jackson didn't answer until the following day, which was October 31st, when she let him know they had left for the U.S., and inquired as to whether she expected to sign anything for checkout some other time. When the video was delivered of Jackson going after Robinson, the attendant said he understood that Jackson had controlled him with an end goal to leave the country quickly. Everything's more. The chairman of the estates said to examiners in a different meeting that in the wake of seeing the viral video, he in a flash realized that it was Jackson since he had met her already. In the meantime, fans are requesting that the Cabo 6 be dealt with promptly. They all should be charged in the young lady that killed her necessities to use the remainder of her sorry life in jail. One individual remarked, I will not be content until each of the 6 captured. It doesn't matter to me. This might have been stayed away from on the off potential for success that individuals have around to watch an individual being killed. All ought to be charged this is cruel and equity. Ought to win someone else at it, Janie Jackson, for one ought to be secured forever. And most of those that was there watching the battle Shanquella didn't merit this. I supplicate that the mother and father gets equity from this case. Soon so they can move on a third individual, added in any case, as new stunning subtleties keep on surfacing about Shankwell's unexpected passing. Obviously, this embarrassment is a long way from being done. We'll watch out for this story as it grows, so remain tuned for more vulgar update dates and insider scoops.